And the home of the UK's conversation about mental health. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. My name is Mick Coyle. Got a bit of news this week because I'm actually not just going to talk about what we're doing here on Mental Health Monday. I'm also going to signpost you to a new project that I've been working on called Football Untold. And I want to tell you a little bit about it as part of this week's episode. It's available to download now with the first episode available. And what Football Untold is about looking at the dark side of the beautiful game and exploring some of the issues within the game that maybe we don't hear about as regular members of the public or football fans. So the first series focuses on problem gambling, and it's the problem gambling of players, both current and former, within the game itself. It's a really fascinating series, actually. So if you can subscribe to that, just search for Football Untold, where you get your podcasts. And there's also social media links, which I'll link to on my social media and the regular Mental Health Monday social media as well. So I'll put a link in the podcast notes too, and you can check that out. Even if you're not a football fan, it's going to be really, really exciting. The whole thing came about after a conversation with former Wales international, former Tranmere players, played at Wigan, Cardiff, Coventry, and I'm sure there's a couple of clubs that I've missed as well. Simon Haworth, who's actually joining me now. Hi, Si.
Hi, Mick. No, you didn't miss any out.
That was them.
That was him.
So Si came to me at the back end of last year and was talking about his own story of gambling addiction. And we sort of sat down over a coffee and we sort of said, I wonder if there's anything more to this. And Si was really keen to say that he felt that his story wasn't a story which was unique. And actually there would be other players who'd had similar experiences. And Si, it turned out you were absolutely right. And we've been lucky enough on Football Untold to be able to share some of those stories.
Yeah, I mean, the idea initially was just to raise awareness from my own story about gambling, what constitutes problem gambling and addiction. And when we met, it was, can we tell that story through the eyes of footballers, past and present, to raise even more awareness and some education in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some really, really great guests on Football Untold. Like I say, former players or current players and across the pyramid as well. Because it's fair to say, Si, that people have a preconception about footballers and presume it's all the bright lights and the big money. But actually, you've got lads there who are trying to earn a living, going year by year on contracts. There's a real big sweep of types of people that find themselves being professional footballers.
Yeah, it affects everybody, not just in football, but it affects everybody gambling, but certainly in football. And I think when we spoke, we were conscious to get a varied experience of different people, and we've done that. We've got some good high-profile players who've had problems, and also some a bit lower down the chain that have suffered with insecurity of contracts, where they're going to be next season, and some loneliness as well. We found out on the series about people having time on their hands and being alone and suffering.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really interesting things, that people presume gambling addiction is about money and that exchange of money or win of money or loss of money, whereas there's so much more to it. And I think what's been really great as part of the Football Untold series that people will hear over the coming weeks is there's so much more to it. It's about who you become, the lies you start to tell, the people you have to deceive to keep your addiction secret. That's something that you share yourself.
Yeah, you're more than just it's more than the finances. It's who you become. Your family and friends are affected. People in workplaces. Sometimes it goes beyond that to getting in trouble with the law, so to speak. So it covers many, many aspects, and you become a totally different person. And that's why it's great when we talk with some of the people on the podcast about them in recovery and seeing the difference, and not just that they've stopped gambling or they've put their finances in order, just they've become much better people.
Yeah, and I think, well, I don't want to say too much now in this preview because I want people to go and hear those stories, but people like Clarke Carlisle talk about their story, and you would think, well, he was the ex-chair of the PFA, surely he had, everything in hand, and it's easy to see when you understand the narrative of what someone's gone through, where those problems begin and how they get worse and worse and worse, that it's not about I stepped into a casino and then suddenly everything changed forever and then I stepped out and I didn't need to worry about it again. It can infect every single part of your life as well.
It can, and Clarke's a great guest for us because we have that stereotype of a gambler being somebody that is in the bookies or a casino all night and probably down on their luck. But Clarke's a super intelligent guy, as you said. He's held some great positions outside football, and it can affect anybody. It's an illness, and it's not just affecting the lower end of society. Really, it's something there for everybody. And hopefully, across the podcast, we cover all different aspects of gambling and how it affects lots of different people, and it will resonate with the listener.
Absolutely. So you can check that out through Football Untold. It's a slightly different podcast feed to this one. It'll be updated weekly for the next 6 weeks. Mental Health Monday, of course, continues throughout that time too, but do check that out. The 6th episode, by the way, Si, is going to be a live event. So I've done live events for Mental Health Monday. People showed up, right? So no pressure. But we're going to get people through the door for that as well.
Let's hope so. We'll fill the room. But yeah, we get the message out there, hopefully.
Football Untold on social media, plus there's a website as well. I'll put a link in the podcast notes, but footballuntold.co.uk. So it's a little bit different this week on Mental Health Monday, just giving you insight into a secondary project that I've been working on called Football Untold. So I will ask you, if you can, to like and subscribe. You can, of course, continue to subscribe to Mental Health Monday, which continues as well.